Hey there, this is Matt with State of Flux, here with a continued look back on the MCU as we move towards Doomsday. And this time we're talking about Guardians of the Galaxy, which I think makes more sense to follow up after Thor the Dark World before we get to Iron Man 3, just because I really think that that tag at the end of Thor really flows into this one. And you're continuing on with the expanding kind of cosmic universe introduced in that first Thor and Avengers film. Now, Guardians is one that's fascinating because most people who were not hardcore comic fans didn't know who the Guardians of the Galaxy were. So this was the biggest kind of test that Marvel had. As much of a chancy take as Iron Man was, Guardians was a ballsy take because so few people knew who or what this was. So what they needed was a voice that could really soar and make this story work, and found that they did in James Gunn. And Gunn was somebody that sort of came from the Whedon sphere, as he had been friends with Whedon at one time, and I'm fairly certain that Whedon helped get Gunn his job at Marvel. And what James Gunn does best is utilize his kind of unique voice. But I think this movie, more than any of his films, shows growing pains, because he still has some of the sensibilities he had from his Trauma days and doing things that's more of a provocateur filmmaker. And also trying to cater to the Whedon of it all. And it was a note actually from Joss Whedon where this script is great when your voice is shining through. Make your voice as loud as it can be. And that was kind of the oomph that Gunn needed to make this story better. And sure enough, he did that. He got there. Because it's Gunn's sensibilities and Gunn's attitude that he brings to the film that really makes Guardians of the Galaxy work at all. And the fact that he cast extraordinary people, or he and the casting director cast extraordinary people in these roles. Chris Pratt was a wonderful discovery. Now, I know in more recent times it's a lot easier to kind of hate on Chris Pratt. He, in a very short amount of time, just went way past the stratosphere of fame and was in seemingly everything and playing kind of very samey characters, though doing so well. And other things more politically and belief structurally based, he's rubbed people the wrong way. But he is a great find for this character because he is the pure embodiment of this incarnation of Star-Lord. Now, Star-Lord in the comics was a much more straightforward, swashbuckling hero. And what Gunn kind of brought to him was a meeting of Captain Kirk and Han Solo into one fine character. And that was where we get this incarnation. And Pratt fully embodies this role. Zoe Saldana as Gamora is a great choice. She's a fantastic actress, and her appearance in several genre-fair films really helped lend credence to the quality we're going to get from her character. And honestly, she was the one I was most excited to see when this was announced. And she is quite good in the film. She sells that character could fall in love with such a lunkhead as Star-Lord. Drax was one where I was like, going into it, I was familiar with Bautista, the wrestler, and he was never one of my favorite wrestlers. He was always just kind of there, and I'm like, how is this guy fighting these great wrestlers? I just didn't see the talent on display. He was the one that wowed me the most when I watched it. Not only is his character the most fun and engaging in terms of how he's written, Bautista, is able to layer the humor and the pathos and the rage and the monstrous nature of Drax so perfectly. And I think he does the best in this first Guardians movie. He is pitch perfect. And Bautista was the one where I was like, I want to keep my eye on him. And of everybody in this movie, James Gunn included, I think Bautista has had the most interesting career and the one that has, I can't wait to see what that dude does next every single time he comes out to do something next. He is interesting as an actor, very, able to command a scene no matter what type of genre film he is trying to do. Then Racoon was an inspired choice of character, as well as Groot, to include in this lineup, none of whom are really first-run Guardians characters. It would be charitable to even call a lot of them second-run Guardians characters. The first-run characters do eventually make cameos in the second movie. But Rocket was an interesting one because how do you sell this? Selling Thor was hard enough. How do you sell a talking raccoon? It's down to the writing and the making him the most fractured character that sells it completely, because you come out of that movie with so much grace and pity for this kind of soft scumball creature, as well as the cute adorableness of Groot as this big hulking tree, and with the singular line of "I am Groot until we are Groot," and that's the key, is emotion. James Gunn understood what makes the Marvel Comics work. They are emotion first, emotion driven, character driven stories, and he's really good at provoking emotion, but sustaining it, and flexing it. And that comes from his provocateur nature in the beginning of his career. But it's something that grows with him and makes him an interesting filmmaker moving forward. Now, I don't think this movie is as good as his reputation allows for, but it's the building blocks to a filmmaker that is going to launch into a completely different stratosphere as each time he helms another movie moving forward. But like I talked about in my Superman, which you can watch here, review, he does lift a joke from the Avengers, both in Superman and in this movie, and it's the flinging Loki everywhere. Groot does that where he stretches his arm down the hall and then he slaps everybody around. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. And that's, again, where I felt like he was trying a little too hard to not use his voice, but to use the voices of others. This movie is co-written by another artist who actually did bring a lot to what made this incarnation of Guardians of the Galaxy work. The whole framing device of the music and everything came from her early drafts of the screenplay, so I'm glad she still gets credit. But this is inarguably a James Gunn feature, and is one of those examples of James Gunn being an artist bigger than the property that he is making. It's so rare within the Marvel fold that you can hear and see the voice of the filmmaker ring through and shine through even beyond the franchise at the helm of. But Guardians is a good movie. I think it suffers from a completely lackluster villain, and the first glimpses of Thanos also aren't particularly great. That being said, my daughter was really taken by Thanos in this movie, and I'm like, oh, if you thought he was cool in this, wait till we get to Avengers. But yeah, she liked this movie. She liked all the characters, especially Star-Lord, and she really, really liked Groot. Made her sad when Groot went, but loved the baby Groot tease at the end and whatnot. So I'm curious to see what she thinks of Guardians 2. Yeah, she liked this movie. As do I. I think Ronan the Accuser is kind of weak sauce. Nebula is a little more interesting, but kind of still one note. These are characters that would get expanded, especially Nebula, in later films with Thanos and Nebula. And all the characters get built upon even further than this. But it's a good first attempt, and it's the attitude and sense of humor that caught people, and the music of it all, and the reverence of its time period. That it's trying to capture, and the framing device of the music, but more so of the mother who succumbed to cancer, is such a powerful opening, and then the reach at the end brings me to tears every single time. Gunn knows how to get these responses and knows how to flex these moments and make them soar. And the score by, is it Brian Tyler who does the score to Guardians 1 and 2? It's fantastic. One of the best scores of the Phase 2 lineup. It is a good movie that I think gets overhyped, but I still really quite like it. It is my least favorite of the Guardians movies. I believe we'll see what rewatches bring, but I do really like this. I give it 3.5 out of 4 stars. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and let me know what you thought of the first Guardians in the comment area down below. We'll be coming at you next week with Iron Man 3. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Peace.